Let's talk about Isaiah Reed Sheppard, or as most of you know him, Reed Sheppard. Now, a few days ago, I did upload a short where I basically discussed the top 3 prospects coming out of this 2024 NBA draft, in my personal opinion, where it was not only based off of the skill that we've seen from the players, but it's also based off of the situations they landed in. Now, in that list, the 3 players I named were Reed Sheppard, Khalil Ware, and Dalton Knecht. Main reason being, again, they're in perfect situations for development and growth, and they all have the ability to do so. But the very first one I want to discuss is Reed, and the key reason behind that will be explained later in the video. Now, for a lot of you that clicked on this video, you clicked because you know who Reed is and you just wanted to get a little bit more of a breakdown on what to expect from him this year. Whereas for some of you, you might not know who he is, so just in case, let's quickly go through the backstory before we get to the present. So starting off with, Reed was born on June 24th, 2004 in London, Kentucky. He did attend North Laurel High School in Kentucky, where he was the starting shooting guard, and he was named as Kentucky Gatorade Player of the Year in his junior year, as well as Kentucky Mr. Basketball in his senior year. He was given a 2023 McDonald's All-American nod due to the fact that he averaged 22.5 points, 8.5 assists, and 8.4 rebounds per game within his senior year. And this, of course, accommodated for the fact that he was then listed as a 4-star recruit, being top 50 prospect in the 2023 class as a shooting guard. Now, Rivals had him as 28, 24/7 Sports had him as 79, and ESPN had him ranked at 23. Now, because of course he was born in Kentucky and attended high school in Kentucky and stayed in Kentucky, he elected to then attend the University of Kentucky despite having offers from Louisville and Virginia, which I believe was highly influenced by the fact that Kentucky is a well-represented school when it comes to basketball, especially with the guards that they've managed to pump out over the past few years with Brandon Knight, John Wall, De'Aaron Fox, Jamal Murray, SGA, and Devin Booker, just to name a few. So it was the perfect situation for him to find himself landing in because it means better development as well as a lot of open view in the media because, again, Kentucky's highly focused on because we expect them to make a push for a championship every year. Now, whilst attending Kentucky, he managed to put on quite a showcase, averaging 12.5 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 4.5 assists, whilst averaging 53.6% from the field, 52.1% from the three-point line, and 83.1% from the free throw line. And the biggest thing to point out here is, even though the numbers seem small, if you watch NBA basketball only, watching collegiate basketball, those averages are actually quite impressive, especially the shooting, because those shooting percentages are those of a marksman, which, as we know, Reed is not meant to be a marksman, he's just meant to be an all-around floor general. Now, the best part about this is Reed then took this capability into the Summer League after having been drafted number 3 by the Houston Rockets, where he averaged 20 points, 4.8 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 2.7 steals, and 1.3 blocks per game on 57% true shooting. Now, this also does partially hide the fact that in that true shooting, he was averaging quite a low percentage when it came to his percentage from the three-point line, as he was averaging about 28%, which was a significant dip from what we've seen from him in previous performances. Now, the real situation here is, I do believe if we had to draft this based off of prospects' ability and instincts, Reed Sheppard should go first. The only issue Reed Sheppard technically has is he's horrifically undersized. I say he's undersized. It's not horrific, it's just nowadays the modern day NBA player is about a 6'5", 6'6" point guard, whereas Reed is not a point guard and he's a shooting guard coming in at 6'2". But fortunately for him, he has all the ability and all the drive to technically dominate in this league. Now, I believe he's someone to watch out for, not only because of the fact of how he plays, but also because of where he's landed. Because again, he does find himself in Houston, where he will be playing alongside Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., Alperen Sengun, Aaron Holiday, Amon Thompson, Steven Adams, Tari Eason, and Cam Whitmore. Now, the best benefit for him here is he won't be injected straight into the starting lineup. As we've seen over the past few years, young guards who just get thrown directly into the starting lineup tend to never succeed. This is mainly because there's a lot of pressure put on them, and it's never truly found to be beneficial, especially when they have to play point. Yes, I know Reed is listed as a shooting guard, but I do believe he will be making his way over to the point guard position in his second year. This is because at the current moment, the starting shooting guard for the Houston Rockets is Jalen Green, and I see no intention of them ever moving on from him, as they just re-upped with $106 million over 3-year extension. However, their starting point guard does happen to be Fred VanVleet, who is on a 2-year contract, with the second year being a team option, and is currently getting paid $42,846,000 this year. And then if they accept the team option next year, should be getting paid $44,886,000 next year. Now, The thing I see most likely happening is Ime Udoka is known for being a good coach when it comes to development, so he's most likely going to bring Reed up off the bench, give him the same minutes that Cam Whitmore and Aaron Holiday had, roughly sharing them about a little bit more, meaning he will be averaging about 15 to 16 minutes a game, and it will be that half of his minutes should overlap with Jalen Green's. The reason I say they should overlap is it will allow for the perfect situation where Reed can get acclimated to Jalen's game whilst playing in real life games rather than just playing in practice, meaning that when Reed comes in his second year, where I expect they'll reject the team option on Fred VanVleet, he should be able to get running off the start without needing that acclimation to Jalen Green's game. Now, this development path is great because, again, it allows him to make the full shift to being a point guard, and it allows him the benefit of being able to be directed by a well-rounded floor general like Fred VanVleet, because as we've seen, Fred has the capability of getting his teammates going as well as getting his own bucket, which is exactly what Reed does. It's just Reed is significantly younger, having it being that Reed is 10 years younger than Fred, and also Reed is about an inch taller, which again, it's the perfect situation because they're moving from one guard to the next where both have the same sort of play style. The only difference being Reed's going to be better than Fred, or he should be better than Fred. And this is not a knock on Fred, this is more an impression on what Reed has done, because through his summer league performances, we already know he has the capability to shoot. The slump of 28% is not that scary because, again, he's known to be a well-rounded shooter. The thing to point out is he has a knack for being able to move the ball around, get his own points, as well as generally get his team going. And then defensively, I know when the scouts were reading through, they were talking about how that's a liability for him. But if you really watch the tape, because I'll link a video that I recently saw by the kids here that fully goes through it, but the quickest way around it is Reed Sheppard knows how to move his feet and has instincts for playing defense. By that I mean if he gets beat, he has the ability to swing his hips around and basically open himself back up to get back and recover. And then when it comes to having the mentality and the instincts, most young guards have a terrible issue of wanting to swipe at the ball whenever they see it. Whereas with Reed, it's that mentality of being able to hesitate, be patient, and basically reach when he needs to, which is why we always see such high steal averages from him. As I said, in his sophomore year in high school, he averaged 4.4. In his summer league, he averaged about 2.7. And even in the preseason, we saw him average. The best way to put it is Reed is always good for a steal a game at the very least. On average, he'll average you about 2. So I personally believe with all that ability and a head coach like Ime Udoka who can push people into being better versions of themselves, especially on the court, Reed is destined to have the best prospect season out of everyone drafted. Because again, he's in the perfect situation. All the players around him are young. The only old veteran is really Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams. Outside of that, it's a bunch of guys near the same age as him, going through the same things as him. That way he can always look at people and be able to gain the support he needs on and off the court. And then he also benefits from not having the pressure of he doesn't need to be the best player right now. That is reserved for Jalen Green. He needs to be the best player. The benefit he has is he moves on to a team where they've got Jalen Green, who very soon will be a top 10 shooting guard, if not already in the league. They've got Alperen Sengun, who again is a top 10 center in the league. The man averaged 29 and 5 last year, which is enough to show you that the Rockets have something going. And then, of course, they're paired up with Dylan Brooks, who, as much as people love to make fun about him, he's really good defensively and offensively can score. And then Jabari Smith Jr., who's really just developing into his role. So when Reed Sheppard moves in the second year, we do expect to see a lot. Numerically and statistically, you will not see a lot from him this year. You'll see averages where it's like, oh, he looks like he might be a bust, but he's not a bust. It's just an issue of I expect him to come off the bench, get well acclimated with the game, and then next year we'll see him hit the floor running. So that's why I believe this is a top prospect to keep your eye on, because perfect situation, perfect sort of player who already has the IQ and instincts for the game. The only thing he really needs is to get acclimated, and that's why coming off the bench would be perfect, because again, I'll mention it, there's been quite a few situations where we've seen young guards get thrown into the limelight and instantly fall to the pressure, but then later bounce back. Shout out to Lonzo. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I should be posting another one discussing the Khalil Ware situation, because I do believe that is also another situation destined for greatness, just because Miami's got great development and the players around him, they're going to help him a lot. But yeah, it's been your boy Alvin Mike. I'll see you around. Deuces.